Welcome to Talmudic Treasures. Today we are learning Sotah, page 14, which tells us the essence of what the Torah is about, why we are supposed to study it, and what do we actually gain from performing the mitzvos, and how we can emulate the ways of God, who is in many ways not like a person. So in this, the Talmud tells us that if we see and study the things that God does, we are supposed to emulate those ways, much like a role model. So, for example, at the very beginning of the Torah, it shows an element of kindness. That when it came to Adam and Chava, Adam and Eve, when they recognized that they had sinned upon eating from this fruit, God made for them clothes, which was an act of kindness. And because of that, we are supposed to learn from that story and say, how can I help other people? If there are people that cannot afford clothing because they don't have the basic necessities, we should do just like God did and give them clothing. Furthermore, we find that God visited the sick. When Abraham had his circumcision at an old age, God himself visited him, which lifted his spirits. And therefore, we are supposed to do the same thing. We may not like going to a hospital. It may not be pleasant, but we are supposed to emulate the ways of God, and we are supposed to act as a kind individual and think about those people who are sick and visit them when we can. God also comforted individuals who were in a state of mourning. When Abraham died, God went to Isaac, to Yitzchak, and blessed him and consoled him. And therefore we have to do the same. And if you go all the way to the very end of the Torah, the very last chapter, it shows that Moses was buried on Mount Nebo. Now, there was no one that went on top of that mountain, which means God himself was involved in the burial of Moshe. And therefore, also us, we also need to act in this way, and to be able to engage in this great act of kindness of being involved in the burial of someone, in the event that, again, you're called upon to do so. And on this, the Talmud tells us something very interesting. The very beginning of the Torah talks about kindness with Adam and Eve, and the very, very end of the Torah talks about kindness, about how Moshe was buried. So we find the beginning and the end. If you look at the bookmarks, if you want to know the status and the purpose of a book, you may want to read the beginning, you want to read the end. And that gives you a little bit of an idea of what the whole book is about, which teaches us that is the essence of what Torah is. Torah is not just about doing random acts and eating matzah, which of course is a mitzvah, and just sitting in a sukkah, which of course is a mitzvah, and doing all these different things on different holidays, and praying, and all these different things, which are of course extremely important. But the underlining point of all of this is not just to do things and then not allow it to transform you into becoming a better person. The purpose of the Torah is to teach us how we can engage in acts of kindness. And when a person has that lens and studies the Torah and does God's word, not just because, I have to follow these laws, which of course we are supposed to do, but to look a little bit deeper and say, how could these laws make me a better person? And how can I use these laws to help others and to be kinder, to make the world a better place? That is the essence of what the Torah is. The Torah is also teaching us, again, that we have to find role models. God is the ultimate role model. So if we see that God does these things, we should also do them. But we also have to look around and find other people that can inspire us, that will motivate us to be able to become better people. And if we can do that and study their behaviors and the way that they act, the way that they speak, and the way that they just conduct themselves, then we will hopefully, just like we're supposed to do when we emulate the ways of God, we can emulate the ways of other people and make the world a kinder, better place.